Afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
This is the Harwich Cultural Council. It is Thursday, February 11th at 4 o'clock, and we're starting our meeting. And I'm going to call to order. First of all, reading pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, GLC 30A, Section 20, and the Governor's March 15th, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Harwich Cultural Council is being conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. So, 4 o'clock, we are starting, and we're going to do a roll call attendance. And when I call on you, just say present. Dinah Lane.
Present.
Peter Hullis.
Present.
Chris Banks.
Present.
Charles Barnes.
Present.
And Tina Gaines present. So we have 5 of us here today. And Bernadette and Sharon, unfortunately, aren't able to join us, so they will be absent for this meeting. We'll move into announcements. Does anybody have any announcements they want to share? All right, seeing none, we'll move to the approval of the January 7th, 2020 meeting minutes. If I could have a motion to approve, please.
I'll move.
All right, Peter
Second.
has moved. And Chris, I think I saw your hand for a second. Any discussion? All right, we'll do a roll call to accept, starting with Dinah.
Yeah, I accept.
Thank you, Peter.
I accept.
Thank you, Chris.
I accept.
Thank you, Charles.
Accept.
Wonderful. And Tina, I accept, so that's unanimous. And now we'll move into our old business, status of 2020 grant recipients. So there are a couple of updates on this. And Charles, I don't know, I think I might have copied you on my reply to Davis Bates.
Yes, I did.
One of the ones you were doing?
I did see that, yeah.
Okay, so Davis, and let me see, Charles, remind me off the top of my head here, I'm just trying to find, do you recall which one was his?
I will tell you in just a second here. I had it up just as you said.
Was it Celebrating New England? Does that ring a bell?
Yes, I believe that's it.
Okay. Yeah, pretty certain that was it.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll let you verify it.
I just lost. I just had all my emails up.
Oh, that's okay. I'm pretty certain it was. I can pull it up myself, but I'm pretty certain it was Charles Bates. Let me just kind of do a double check here. And he reached out to me, and then I also...
Yes, Celebrating New England.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Charles. So
Sorry,
Celebrating New England. So Davis Bates, he reached out to me, and I copied Charles on my reply, just letting me know that he is intending to do his event, and he and Emily over at the Council on Aging have worked out a virtual performance. And it will be, they're actually going to take the opportunity to extend it beyond Harwich. Originally, when it was proposed in person, it was just going to be for Harwich Council on Aging. But they're going to take the opportunity to share it with other councils on aging. So Harwich will be included, of course, and then Emily, I guess her colleagues across the Cape, they're going to share and invite other councils in. So it's a little bonus there. So I think that's kind of cool. So that is a go. I don't have the exact date yet. I think they were trying to coordinate with the various councils on aging to get a good date for everybody, but it is definitely a go. So I did get that update. I also reached out to 2 others today, and I mean, because I have not had any follow-up on the support for a brain injured artist. I reached out to her probably 3 weeks ago, hadn't heard anything, so I sent her a note again today, and if I don't hear from her again, I'll just pick up the phone and see if I can reach her, but I've heard zip. So I don't know what's going on, if she intends to follow through with that one. And then the other one that I followed up with was Nettie's, the teen, let's see, it was the teen artist Coalition of Cape Cod, followed up with her too. I haven't heard anything either. I know she's holding out hope to do something in person. I don't know how that's going to work, but if that's, I wanted to talk with her too, if that is her intention. We just need to, you know, June 15th really is kind of when we.
What is the name of that one? I'm sorry, what is the
Oh,
name?
yeah,
of
that one is Teen Artist Coalition of Cape Cod.
For some reason, I don't see it on the list.
The same here.
This is not for,
This is on our list. Yes,
2021.
this is 2020.
Yeah, this is for
2020.
2020.
Right.
Peter, this
Okay.
was before you, sorry.
Okay.
So we're just reviewing last year's because we still have some outstanding folks that,
Yeah.
so sorry to confuse everybody. This is 2020.
Yes.
Yep. And just trying to figure out where everybody is, because it would be very nice for Chris and me especially to be able to close these books on June 30th. So you can move on to 2020.
So you've reached
so
out, but you have heard nothing from either of them.
No, I have
Okay.
not.
All right.
And just trying to do my due diligence and trying to poke at everybody every 2 or 3 weeks just to see what's going on. I mean, it's February and time is moving on. So I just don't want people to lose track of what they've committed to, because once it gets to June, I mean, there's not a lot we can do because we've made every effort to help them extend. Any questions? And Charles or Dinah, do either of you have any updates on who you were working with?
No, I think both of the people that I contacted had also copied you on their last email. Yes, I think I gave an update the last time. Those are the last updates I have.
Okay, so nothing new.
Tina,
All right,
Tina,
and Charles-
how about the teaching artist program? Jill, she was, I believe, a nurse and had some issues.
Jill actually has already, she submitted hers probably a couple of months ago, so she's done. She's
Oh,
good.
okay, all right.
Yep, she's good. Hers was, I can't remember exactly when well, actually, I can tell you, Charles. Hold on, I've got it documented. She was let me think here. I'm having to remember the project names because hers was for,
The Night Horse Theater, wasn't it?
I'm sorry?
Was a theater, Shakespeare Theater?
It was, I have to remember the name of the program because everything here is listed. Oh,
Okay.
Teaching Artist Program. So she submitted that one in November 2nd.
Okay,
So she's done.
Okay, so I just was reviewing my notes here. Daniel Levine is the one who had sent us an email, I believe, Tina, saying that she was working with Rosewood Manor.
Yep.
That she was going to be doing something, but they didn't have the exact dates down, but she is well aware of the deadlines.
Right.
And the other was Movimento.
Yep.
And I haven't heard anything further from them,
Yeah.
but they're out of the country. So that was a little more complicated. They were out of the country when the pandemic started and they haven't been able to get back. So, but they did say they were going to try to connect with the Cape Cod Theater Company about doing something with them, but I have not heard anything further.
Okay. All right.
Would you like me to contact them again?
Yeah, just kind of, I mean, I think it might be good at this point for us to be touching base with everybody every 2 or 3 weeks. I just would hate for it to get down to April and May and then everybody's scrambling because we can't extend this beyond June. We've already given them a 6-month extension already. So it might be good at this point to just kind of keep in touch with everybody every couple of weeks or so.
All right,
Yeah.
I'll connect both of them to
Okay.
Divine and Movimento. But other than the ones that you've cited, though, everything else is taken care of?
Everything else, the other thing, there's another one, Puppet Theater Presentations. I probably need to follow up on him. He and I had a conversation before the new year, and he and Nina, so they were going to try to partner on something for the spring over at Cape Cod Theater Company with their puppet show. But I haven't gotten an update yet on what that is.
So you will be getting in touch with him?
Yep, I will. Yeah, I'll follow up with him as well and just kind of see if they can give us an update on what's going on. And I think at this point, all we can do is just follow up with people and just make sure we have everything in documentation in our emails. Because I think we're doing our part and just staying on top of things. But if people aren't following through, we can't be held responsible for that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the update. Any questions? Because like I said, I would love to get this closed out. I don't want Chris to have to worry about any of this beyond June 30th. And it's going to be tricky anyway with the way that the accounting is done with the town. I mean, June 30th is when we need to close everything for 2020. All right. No questions. We will move on to the next item of business, the current financial report, Mass Cultural Council allocation. So nothing has really changed about our account balances, except everybody knows that shortly after our last meeting, we got notified, I think it was the next day, that the state awarded us $5,000. We were expecting $4,900, so that was an extra $100, which was wonderful. So the 5,000, my understanding, and Chris and I can check with Carol, it was supposed to be put in the account within 30 days of that announcement. So I think if it was June 8th, it should be hitting if it hasn't hit already. So $5,000 will be added from the state. Any questions?
Well, what does that mean then about what we had decided on allocating this time? Does it mean that we will not have to take as much out of our gift account?
Well, we can talk about that in, let's see, it's coming up. Yeah, I guess we can talk about it now since we're talking about financial report.
Right.
It gives us an extra $100, certainly, and we can talk when we get to new business and talk about our final discussion on the grant awards. We can make that decision.
Right, but it does not involve giving more than 10,000, is that right? Or could we?
We could, I mean, that's totally, yeah, certainly we could. We discussed last time, and I realize Bernadette and Sharon aren't here to weigh in on this, but we did agree, based on my understanding, and it's in the minutes, we did agree to award 10,000.
That's correct.
Right, but we closed out at, Charlie, do you have the numbers in front of you?
Yeah,
9185?
yes.
Okay, I have it written down. 9185.
Okay, 9185. All right, so it's, yeah, I mean, it's up to us. I would say, and Charlie, I'm actually depending on you to kind of keep up with our numbers here. I basically just had recorded what we had agreed to last time, but we'll move into that when we get over to new business. And then we can decide. But Dinah, to answer your question, it's $100 extra in the main account.
Yes.
Than what our numbers had last time.
But we are not stuck with the 10,000 because we decided last time, right? We could in fact up it before we do our awards now.
We could up it based, I mean, we can go through and look at the grant applications again and add a little bit more if we want, but we can't, we've already, which again, we're kind of moving ahead in our agenda here. We'll go into denials in just a moment, but we can certainly go back and take a look at what we have awarded based on last time. We can increase that, yes.
Okay, or
sense?
we could just leave it and leave that amount in our account,
Yeah.
We could, yep,
which might be simpler. Okay,
yep, absolutely.
then we would have it for
You
next.
send out the denial letters?
Yep, it's next in our agenda. Yep. So let's move into that. Denial notifications to 2021 grant applications. I think I sent out, when I sent out the agenda packet, just a quick update. And Charles, unless anything's changed, we didn't get any requests for reconsideration.
No requests.
So nobody came back on that. So we don't have to have any requests for reconsideration. So we can just move right through that next item, request for reconsideration. Let's move, any questions on that before we move into new business? And I'll just mention quickly that Charlie has set up a new email address specifically for the grants, which he and I talked about, because going forward, it is so much easier to have a dedicated email address so that all that grant information doesn't get tangled up in your personal email address. So Charlie, you've got a new grant email address. So
hccgrantadmin@gmail.com.
Okay. So it's
Repeat that again.
HCC grant.
I'm not catching the first of it.
HCC
HCC.
grantadmin@gmail.com. And of course, I didn't use that to send out the denial letters. I used my personal email.
Yeah, but you've been checking those, so we haven't had any responses.
Yes. Yeah.
But going forward, Charlie's going to use that email address. It makes it a lot easier, a lot tidier. That way, if there are any questions, Charlie can go to that email address and everything's kind of logged in there. So that's what we're going to use going forward for any of the grant applications. All right, so let us move into a conversation. 2021 Grant Awards Final Decisions. So last time, if everybody can pull out, this is what I recorded on.
Yep.
So everybody pull that out. I'm going to just put myself on, well, that's all right. I've got a cat trying to get out of the room, but if everybody can just pull that out real quickly. I'll give you a minute to do that. I'm just going to let my cat out of the room, if you don't mind. Hold on.
Where was that?
Where was what?
What she just talked about, that sheet.
The sheet?
Yeah.
This was the sheet that I was working on. I think she sent it to us. And we,
Yeah,
Okay,
Peter, at the panel book that
Tina's
I
last
sent,
email included
it's the
that.
very last page, I guess.
oh,
And
I
it's
see.
it's just a good tracking sheet. So going forward, as you work on grants every year, it's just a good tracking sheet because it's automated from the state with that panel book. And it's just a place where it tells you what they requested and what we agreed to give them. And it's just kind of a good tracking
Yeah,
sheet.
I was working off the one that Charles had given us.
And that's fine too. Whatever works
Okay.
for you, as long as we all have the same numbers. Yep,
Okay,
that's fine. You can pull the one out that Charles sent.
got it.
So let us do, and Charlie, if you don't mind, or Chris, our treasurer, one of you, if you could, one of you, if you want to grab a calculator and just, I know we got a total just a second ago, but let's just make sure it's accurate. And let's take a look at what we had as of last time. So if you want to go down on this sheet and just add up what we agreed on last time. Because it was 16 grants.
Tina, may I ask a question?
Sure.
I'd like to know what should be represented in the minutes with regard to this, the final decisions.
I would just do it kind of like you did the last set of minutes, which were very good, and just,
I mean, should it be specified how much each award is?
actually, probably, you know what? Because I think, yes, we're going to take a final vote tonight or today, whatever it is, afternoon tonight. So, yeah, I think it would be helpful, Dinah, if you want to. It might actually be good to have it in the minutes.
I would think so, but is there a form that I might, so that I'm not retyping everything? Is there something that I can use to just add our award numbers to this list?
I would probably, well, I don't know. I would probably, I would print out a new copy of this and write the final numbers. Because that, or I can try to do it later tomorrow or something.
Write it and then scan it into the minutes? Is that your suggestion?
I'm using the spreadsheet, and all I'm doing is summing up the different cells that we have. So to me, the spreadsheet is the easiest because you can,
The spreadsheet that you sent?
yes.
Yeah,
Okay, well, I wasn't using that. I was using this. So I would need to.
Whatever you're more comfortable with.
Right.
This is what you're talking about, right?
What?
Yes,
Yeah.
Okay.
So Dinah, I'm just going to
that's what
tell
I'm
you,
using.
I think this really,
Has this been done in the past? What
not
has,
in the minutes, not in the minutes, because, and I'll tell you why. It hasn't been done in the minutes because in a normal year, when we do the annual report, it's listed in there. I actually go in, it's a Word doc. So I actually have to type in every thing and spread it out. So, and that has always served as our evidence, if you will, our announcement.
yeah,
But because we weren't able to meet that deadline this year, I think what you're suggesting is good to have it in the minutes.
right.
I would probably, I would recommend something a little cleaner than attaching a spreadsheet. No offense to the spreadsheet.
Yeah,
It might require you listing, or Charlie, perhaps, I don't know if there's a way to pull it, the cells in the spreadsheet, just pull those cells out and send them over to Dinah so the whole
in a
spreadsheet's not
Word,
going over.
yeah, in a Word document that I would be able to then just affix the final amounts.
Probably,
possible?
sure.
Is that possible?
Yes, I can transpose everything over. It just seems to me it's duplicating your effort because, everything's on the spreadsheet.
Yeah, it's not so much everything being on the spreadsheet. It's really for whoever might be reviewing the minutes. And I don't.
Oh, I understood. I can help you, Dinah, make that simpler.
I think what Tina is saying is the spreadsheet is a little more than what we want.
Okay, gotcha.
Yep. Yeah.
And if you could just provide the names, and then I can put in the numbers as we make sure we confirm them today.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And that's a great idea, Dinah, because this is an unusual year where we were not able to meet because the town has an annual report and I wasn't able to list the grant awards.
Right.
So I think it's helpful to have it in the minutes, actually.
Yeah, okay. Well, I figured there should be some sort of official record. I wasn't sure how it had been done in the past, but now I understand it's been done because we had to do the annual report and we're not doing that. Okay.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. So anyway, but Charlie, thank you for that and good suggestion, Dinah. Chris or anybody, were you able to, I was starting to total.
I did total it, and I have $9,685.
That's what I
Yes.
thought. I thought it, yeah.
Okay.
I thought it was higher than what was said before. So you had 9,685.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's correct because I remember Sharon asking, saying 315 is what we had left over. So that is correct. So based on last month, we granted or agreed to grant $9,685. So the question I'm going to put to the group is that we've got $315. We did agree that we would award up to $10,000. We certainly don't have to, but that is what we agreed to do. And Dinah and I presented at the Board of Selectmen recently, and we didn't commit to that number, but we did say that that was our agreement. And it was listed in the annual report because at print time, that was what we agreed to do. So we certainly don't have to do that, but I might recommend that we think about it. And if we do award $10,000, it's a nice even number. Where would we put the extra 315?
Right.
So I'll open it up for discussion.
Well, do we have to go down the list and kind of review?
Yeah, unless you have some recommendations. I think I might have in the agenda packet, or maybe it was the agenda, just asked you to kind of be thinking if there were any that you might want to toss a little bit. And it might help if you, where it says amount requested, if you want to take a look at the amount requested versus what we actually gave to see where some of the, I guess, stretches are a little bit. Like Kristen Stewart, we can pull her grant up again if anybody has their panel book. We've got the dot-to-dot art workshop that we could think about. Naomi Steckman. So there are a few in here. We've got, who was the other one? There was one, There was Cultural Center of Cape Cod. So that one was for the Rising Shine. So it looks to me, let me just narrow this down for everybody. It looks to me that we've got about 4 that we can think about. One is Kristen Stewart. And Charlie, if you don't mind, I don't know if you've got access to your panel book or your descriptions.
I do.
And if you, I'll give you a minute to pull that up, but let me just narrow it down. So it would be Kristen Stewart. It would be the Dot to Dot Art Workshop. It would be Naomi Steckman. And there was one more. Hold on a second. I think there was one more. Was it just 3? Let me just take a quick, no, there was one. Okay. So the other was Cultural Center of Cape Cod, which was Rise and Shine. So there are 4.
Sorry, Tina, could we, just for the sake of complete clarity, go back over what we tentatively awarded to each of these from the top?
Sure. Yep. We can do that. So everybody pull their sheet out. Harwich Cranberry Festival requested $1,000, and we agreed to award that in full. The next one is Kristen Stewart. I'm skipping over the zeros, by the way. Kristen Stewart is the next one who requested $500.
Is that the cold frame?
Charlie, I'm going to have to
Yes.
go to you.
Cold frame.
Okay, cold frame.
Yes.
She requested 500 and we gave what? We had,
We gave
250.
$250.
I think that was an appropriate amount.
Okay. The next one is Dot to Dot Art Workshop. She requested $750 and we gave her $300.
It's Makers Club.
Yeah, Makers Club is the next one.
Uh-huh.
Same thing, I think.
Yeah, these are subtitles. Mhm.
Right.
Yeah, I'm actually reading the project. The one I pulled has the project titles, or actually the applicant. I'm sorry, the applicant.
Yeah, we have the project titles, so that's.
Yeah, that's what I'm working from.
Okay, all right.
So
Okay,
we're down to
Charlie,
the,
this is something you'll take the lead on after I exit. So feel free to jump in.
now.
Makers Club is what?
300 we gave them.
Okay,
Now
Yep,
free.
and I
play.
have it. Yeah, so Makers Club, it's Dot to Dot Art Workshop. If you need what it is. Yeah, we gave 300 and they asked for 750.
Yep,
The other one was Naomi Steckman. I don't have the project title. Do you, Charlie?
Let's see here. Yes. Again, I'm looking at my spreadsheet. So that's Beyond the Bounds, a pandemic concert series focused on connection and creative expression. We gave her 400.
Yep, and she asked for 800.
Right.
And then the last one, oh, I'm sorry, you want to go down through everything, Dinah. Hold on a second.
yeah, how about the free plays? I thought that was the next one on the list.
Oh, yeah,
It is
that's
on
2,000. We funded in full at 2,000.
Okay,
Then beyond, okay.
then we did we fund the duo pianists?
No,
And we didn't fund Chainsaws Cheeseburgers.
no.
Oh,
And then Beyond the Bounds, we did 400.
Right. Then creative movement was the next one. We did 935. That's what they asked for.
Okay, 935. Mm-hmm.
Then the creative outlets, finding your voice through the arts. She asked for 300. We gave her 300.
Yep.
And then open mic classical, they asked for 300. We gave them 300. And then we skipped Henry the Juggler. We skipped attracting birds, butterflies, bees, and other beneficials. And we skipped remote learning song with puppets.
Yep.
Then we have the Harwich Historical Society asked for 800. We gave them 800. Arts and Ideas. We gave them 400. They asked for 400. Rise and Shine. She asked for 1,000. We gave her 500. And Eventide Tales asked for 300, we gave them 300. The virtual concert at the Heritage Museum asked for 500, we gave them 500. Okay. Cape Cod Poetry Review asked for, I don't know if this is a misprint on my part, 402. We gave them 400. I think it was 400.
Yep, that's correct.
That's what I have.
Hands-on art exploration asked for 500. We gave them 500. The Harwich Town Band performances asked for 800. We gave them 800. And we skipped the last three, which was 60 plus, the Senior Arts Program, Arts Light, and the Hip Hop Dance Chair exercise for seniors.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, Charlie.
Yeah,
So
that's great.
Dinah, you just want the name and the amount proposed on this?
Yeah.
I'll send that over after the meeting.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
Yeah, and we're going to vote on this, Charlie. So it's not a proposed that you'll be sending over. It is the done deal.
Oh, good. I'll change that heading then.
So the
Thank you.
well,
You put done deal.
so making art, which was the second one, while grieving death, we did not fund that at all? Is that
No.
right? Okay. All right, and the duo pianist, we did not fund.
No.
Okay. All right, I think I have everything else set here. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Charlie.
You're welcome.
All right, so now that we've got everybody caught up there, is everybody good?
Yep.
All right. So I'm just going to make a recommendation to the group. I personally would like to see us come up to 10,000, which would give us 315 to put somewhere against the 4 where we didn't fully fund. I would personally like to see us do that, but I'm going to open it up for discussion.
I agree. How many are open to more money? I think Coldframe Theater, we gave them 250 where they asked for 500. And the Makers Club, we gave them 300 when they asked for 750. Whose phone is that?
That's mine. Sorry.
Oh. So any others that we
Yep,
did not fully fund?
we had 2 more. Yeah.
Which
Beyond
one?
bounds.
Yeah, Beyond the Bounds, we only
Yep.
gave half.
Right, and Rise and Shine, half.
Yep.
Yes.
So we only have 315 to give,
Right.
to go 10. Then the first 2, I thought, would be closer to that 315.
What did you say?
The first 2 I mentioned are closer to the 315, which is Coldframe Theater and Makers Club. Are there others that are closer to the amount?
I don't know what you mean by closer. Closer to
To what
what?
they asked, you mean?
Closer to the 315 amount that we want to give.
Oh.
Right. So Chris, I think if I'm hearing you correctly, I think you're saying to give one person 315. We can do that, or we could split the 315 and give it to 2 people.
I would like to propose that we give $100 more to the Makers Club.
Okay.
And that's the dot-to-dot workshop, right?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So that would take that one up from 300 to 400.
Yep.
So let's make that notate. Well, first of all, does everybody agree with that?
It's fine with me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Charlie?
I'd also like to propose that we give, let's see. Let's see.
How about Beyond the Bounds? We only gave them 400 out of 800 that they asked for.
What did you say, Charlie?
I was just thinking beyond the bounds, they asked for 800, we gave them 400. You know, maybe we should give them 5.
Yeah, we could do that.
Okay, so we add 100 there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, so that would take that one to 500. So we got $115 to park somewhere.
Yeah, and then how about Rise and Shine?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
All right,
That's-
so you want to put 115 to Rise and Shine?
Yeah,
Sure.
rounds it up.
All right, so that would go on Rise and Shine. It would go from 500. So if you cross that out and put 615. So just to review that again, we've taken $315 and we've added, or the proposal that Dinah's putting on the table is to add 100. And I apologize. I'm saying the workshop. I think it's Cape Cod or the Makers Dot to Dot Art Workshop. We're going to move them to 400. And then Naomi Steckman, what was the name of her project, Charlie?
Beyond the Bounds?
Thank you. Beyond the Bounds. We're adding 100 to that, so that'll come up to 500. And then we're adding 115 to Rising Shine, which would bring them up to 615 over the 500 we proposed last time, and that would bring us up to 10,000 even. How does that sound?
Sounds good.
Good.
Okay, good. So here's what I'm going to ask someone to do. Charlie, you've got the spreadsheet, so I think if you don't mind, I'm going to ask you to make a motion that we accept the following 2021 grant awards. And then what I'd like you to do is read them out. You can skip over the zeros. Don't worry about the zeros. Read them out and the amount that we agreed on and just go down the list until you're complete. Does that make sense?
Yes, but go through the ones that we just gave additional money to, because I was annotating the spreadsheet in another place.
The Makers Club Dot to Dot.
Pardon me?
The Makers Club Dot to Dot, we now are awarding 400 proposed.
400, okay.
Beyond the Bounds, Stepman, is that right?
Yep.
We are proposing 500.
Right,
And Rise and Shine, we are proposing 615.
615, okay.
And that should total out at 10,000, Charlie? Is that what you see?
Bear with me here.
That's fine.
I usually do this on a desktop, not a laptop, so
That's fine. We appreciate you doing it.
yes, 10,000 even.
Perfect. So Charlie, since you have the spreadsheet, I think it's easiest for you to do this. If you can make the motion, I'd like to move that we award the following awardees for 2021 and then just read each one with the amount that you have. Skip over the zeros. You don't have to add the zeros to your motion. Just say the what you have, the project, and then the
Right.
amount. Does that make sense?
It does, it does.
And then we'll have a second. After you've read the list, we'll have a second.
Okay, so we have the Cranberry Fest, 1,000.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Charlie, just for protocol, if you could just say, I'd like to move that we
Oh,
accept
sorry, yes.
the following.
I'd like to move to make the following adjustments. Or,
Okay, I apologize. Just say, I'd like to move that we award the following applicants for 2021.
I'd like to move that we award the following applicants for 2021.
Thank you.
Cranfest in the Courtyard, 1,000. Cold Frame Theater, Outdoor Spring Production, 500. Is that right?
No,
250.
Now, 250.
Oh, I'm sorry, 250. Somewhere I got mixed up here. Makers Club, 500.
400.
Didn't we just give them another 100?
over the 300 that we had tentatively awarded.
Oh, okay.
So it's 400.
Sorry. Okay, the free plays, 2,000. Let's see, Beyond the Bounds, 500.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Creative Movement, 935.
Correct?
Creative Outlets, 300.
Yes.
Yes.
Open mic classical, 300.
Yes.
Historical Society, 800.
Yep.
Arts and Ideas, 400.
Check.
Rise and Shine, 615.
Yes.
Yep.
Eventide Tales, 300.
Yep.
Virtual concert at the Heritage Museum, 500. Cape Cod Poetry Review, 400.
Yes.
Hands-on art exploration, 500.
Yep.
And the Harwich Town Band Performances, 800.
Here, here.
Yes. Perfect. Thank you, Charlie. And a second, please.
I'll second that.
All right. So Peter has seconded. Any discussion? All right. So we're going to take a vote to accept those awards as Charlie has read them for 2021, totaling $10,000. So we're going to go around the Zoom room here, or the GoToMeeting room. Dinah, yay or nay?
Yay.
Peter?
Yay.
Chris?
Yay.
Charlie?
Yay.
And I'm a yay. So that is unanimous. Good work, everybody.
Wonderful.
So we are awarding $10,000. Yay! Wonderful.
Hip, hip.
All right. And then, Charlie, the real work begins. So the next step, so Charlie's going to get that nice and cleaned up, and you will get a list of what you read over to Dinah for the minutes. And then the next step is the notification process. So Charlie, you and I guess we'll need to connect. Ideally, I thought we could get this out Monday. I know that's probably backing you into a corner, Charlie. So I think ideally I'd like to see it go out in the 15th, but it doesn't necessarily have to. It just depends on your time. But you and I could certainly work together, and I will give you the template and all of the things I've done in the past. We can get together on the video like we did last time and just go through it, because you're going to send.
That's pretty much duplicating the denial letter, but in a positive
Exactly.
vein. So, that's no problem. Even though I'm in the midst of painting 2 rooms, I can probably handle that.
Thank you. Because you're going to be sending out 16 is the total, 16 grant acceptance packages. And what that entails, just so everybody knows, so we're going to aim for the 15th, and that's Monday, Charlie.
Right.
So we're going to aim for the 15th to get out grant packets. And what that includes, it's a grant award letter, and I have a template I've used every year, and it just has all the wording, and we just have to replace like the names and the amount. So everybody's going to get the same letter, but specific to their project and their total. And then attached to that, they'll get a hard copy of the letter. So the letter will go into the email. They'll also get an attachment with a hard copy that they can print for whatever their records might be. Then they will also get a copy of the publicity guidelines, because they are required to advertise at Harwich Cultural Council as a co-sponsor. And they will get that. And they also will get a grant reimbursement form. So when they complete their project or event, there's a form they have to fill out. They have to show us evidence that they've given us credit, any receipts or whatever, totaling the amount that we've given, so that we can make sure that they used it in the way that they said they would. And then that comes back to us, or to Chris at that point, once it's done. And then we will talk about something here shortly that may not make the grant packet, but it's something Charlie can follow up with, which we'll talk about here shortly. And it kind of gives you a nice touch point anyway. So I'm not worried about it not making the packet on Monday, but it'll be a nice follow-up. So does anybody have questions on that timeline?
No, but the expectation is that Charlie will be doing this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. With my support as he needs it. He actually did really well with the denial letter. So, yep. He blind copied me.
It's so easy to say no.
Might be easier to say yes, though.
I wish we could say yes to everyone. I think, I give them a lot of credit for doing the work. These are tough times, so it's like to give out as much as possible. Tina, I do have a copy of the final approval letter, but I think you've doctored it up a bit over the years. So whatever you use for a template, I can use that. And then I have a copy of the reimbursement form and a copy of the publicity requirements.
Yep.
So those two things would accompany my email, and we're sending out a hard copy of the letter.
Yeah, I typically do that, Charlie, because you just never know for bookkeeping purposes what people prefer. And what I'll do is I will forward to you one of the ones I did last year. So that way you've got a copy of it, because I put the grant award letter in the body of the email, and I also put it into a Word doc, convert it into a PDF, and attach it. Because some people just want to print out a nice looking letter.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
Yeah, some people are okay with the email. Other people might want the letter. I just have gotten in the habit of doing both.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah. So it looks cleaner that way. And because some of them I think have to go back to their boards and show, X, Y, and Z.
Sure.
So it's just easier to have a letter. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And then, so the intention is to get all that out on the 15th, which is Monday. So you got 16 of those going out, and then you'll start to get responses of very excited people. And then we'll go into the next item that we'll talk about in just a second. But any questions? Anybody, any questions on that? And Charlie, like you did last time, we'll touch base, but you can blind copy me just that way. If that's what we did. If you want to. I mean, I know that you're going to do this, but yeah.
No, I'm happy to do that. It's good to have a second pair of eyes. So.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. All right. So we'll get that done, and everybody will be very excited. Yay. And then they have 1 year from the date. And I guess this might be me being very organized. I always like to have it on an even date, because it's easier, Charlie, for you to remember and Chris to remember that February 15th. Next year is the end date. So it gives them 1 year from the date of the letter. So that's why I always like to put it on a date that's easy to remember. Because if you're doing an odd number, you're going to forget. So, and then they'll have one year to do what they said they were going to do. Okay. All right. So no questions. We'll move into the next item, which is something we talked about at the last meeting. Assessment and verification. I think Dinah had brought this up about how do we know that they did what they did, So I did a little digging. I guess everybody has this in their agenda packet, but I did a little digging and some stuff that was passed over to me. And in a file tucked in the back of something, I found what I sent everybody. And it's dated. In fact, I didn't notice it until after I sent it to you. It's dated December 2009. So it's over 10 years old. It's 11 years old. But it was something that was used, back before all of us. And when I came onto the council, they weren't using it. And so I didn't really pursue it at all. But I'm giving you this just as a starting place, because my personal thought is, and one of the things that we had changed right when I was coming on the council, a lot of the council members felt that we should physically be there if we could go. And that was the evidence that it was happening. So we always have historically, as long as I've been on the council, attended the events or seen the videos, or, we've had some type of evidence that one of us can say, I was there. However, having said that, what we discovered this year in the virtual world is that things were happening that we couldn't all get to. And so Dinah had made the suggestion of an evaluation form of some form or some format. So in front of you is what was used 11 years ago. And you'll notice that this was designed to be completed by the host site supervisor. So So I don't know, you can take a look at this. I don't think it's something we have to decide on tonight. You might want to digest it. And I know Sharon had some thoughts or some ideas too. So we can certainly talk about this and we could bring it back up again next month. But I'll open it up for conversation.
Well, since this was such a difficult year and we really aren't aware of how the programs are going, and if you're going to send out these acceptance letters by Monday, can't we slip something into the packet for this year?
Okay, so obviously I wasn't very clear. So let me see if I can repeat myself again. I don't know, it puts a lot on Charlie to get this all done by Monday.
Yeah, that's going to be hard. I can tell
so
you.
what I mentioned earlier is we can, when Charlie gets the 16 packets out, this can serve as a touch point later, like 15 or 30 days later, to say, hi, wanted just to congratulate you again, and also to include this. That way Charlie's not under the gun to also try to incorporate something that's brand new.
It will give us a chance to talk about it a little bit.
Exactly.
Refine the document.
Yeah.
So it's not lost, it's just postponed until.
Yeah. Yeah. So it will be included in whatever format we decide. It won't be part of Monday's packet, but it will act as a follow-up. Because it is kind of nice to check in with people maybe 30 days later, because you'll be surprised. There was actually, I don't know if this was 2 years ago, but I had 2 grantees that for whatever reason they said they didn't get the email packet. So one of them reached out and said, when are you announcing your awards? And I said, well, we did it 2 months ago. Did you not get your letter? And I sent it to them again, and I guess it had hit their spam folder. And they never saw it. So it does serve, I think, as maybe a 30-day check. Just wanted to congratulate you again, and also to provide the attached form. Charlie and we can talk about how to reach out and stuff. Yeah. Diana?
In the letter that Charlie sends out, can we request a reply just to be certain that they did receive it?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Because there is such a thing as spam and people may not know, and we want to be assured that everyone has received their notification.
Yep.
So I think maybe that should be just added to the acceptance letter and say, please notify us when you receive this so that we are certain that you have.
Right.
Can we use that new email address?
The new email address?
Well, that's what I'll send them out under.
All right, so then I'll reply to that.
Yep. Yeah. And Charlie, I think it's a good idea on the email letter, because it may not, formatting, you'll see what I'm talking about with the actual letter. You'll probably run out of room in the hard copy, but in the email bit, we can say, can you please confirm receipt? Yes.
Yeah, just the last sentence of the email letter.
Yeah, it's a good idea. And it honestly, it's only happened a couple of times. It's not like it's common, but it did happen with one person who thought, when are you announcing your awards? Well, you're a winner, and you were a winner 2 months ago. So we'll add that, Charlie, just on the email bit.
Sure.
Yeah. So we can take this and look at it, because I know there were some thoughts about how to do this. Now, this is set up for the host site. So let's just say if, I don't know, I'll use Cape Cod Theater Company. Let's say the puppet show, for example. So the puppeteer goes and he does his thing with Nina over at the theater company. This puts the responsibility on Nina to fill this out. So we have to think about, is that what we want? Are we asking our host people to fill it out? Or are we asking the grantee to fill it out? Or are we asking people in the audience? So we have to think through what we want to do. Dinah?
I'm thinking that we are asking the host to fill it out, but that the grantee needs to be responsible for getting it back to us.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's a possibility. It's just one thought, but the problem with that is if the host fills it out and is not pleased with the program, then it might be sensitive for them to try to have the return it to us. So maybe that doesn't work. But I mean, I do think that the host can take some responsibility. They're getting a great opportunity. They're getting a great show or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And so we could, I don't think it's too much to ask. I was trying to think of a way to make it more streamlined, but actually now that I think of it, I'm not sure that it makes sense to ask them to get it to the grantee to send it to us, although, yeah, I'm not sure that makes sense.
Yeah.
Just because there may be negative feedback, which they would not feel comfortable giving to the grantee.
Yeah.
So they can fill it out.
Yeah. Yeah, and as Charlie had brought up last time, it's helpful, I think, for us, or, you know, for all of you going forward, to think about, because some of these folks come to us every year, you know, and if something isn't going well, it might be cause to not support it the following year.
Absolutely.
So, right.
No, I think the document is very important. I love the idea. Just the mechanics of it.
Yeah, exactly. And gosh, I had a thought, something you said, Donna, and now I've lost the thought about. Yeah, so anyway, we can play around. I don't know if somebody, I think, and I don't want to put Sharon, she's not here, and I don't want to put this in her lap, but I'm pretty certain a couple of meetings ago, Sharon said she would be happy to draft something. So I don't want to put it on Sharon, but I think that is what she said, that she might take leadership on this to help tidy it up a little bit. The only thing, I don't have this in a Word doc, so it's something that will have to be created from scratch. But maybe using this.
Will you be in touch with Sharon about that directly?
I can send it. Yeah, I can reach out to her and ask, but I'm pretty certain she did throw her hand up and offer to kind of spearhead this.
Probably best for you to circle back with her about that.
Yeah, I'll do that. But looking at this, is there any, just kind of at a glance, do you like this format? Is there anything, as I speak to Sharon about it, is there anything you want to cross off or add, or do you want her to maybe just put this into a Word doc and then play around with it from there?
There's a lot of subjective questions that are, you know, you're looking, I think, for factual information, and somebody's interpretation of what they see or experience might not be as accurate as it could be, at least the way I'm reading the form.
Right.
I think that is actually fine because it's about satisfying the needs of the site.
Okay.
So it's by its very nature subjective. Is this really something that you think is good for your residents or for your target audience or whatever? I mean, I don't know what else we can do. It has to be. I mean, art is subjective, and so is you know, people, for instance, who are representing an elderly population. They should be able to say whether they think this was an appropriate use of our funds or an appropriate thing for their population to experience. I don't know how else we would go about that, but that's my thought.
I also, at the bottom, it says, you know, this was, of course, 11 years ago before everybody was working via email, and they were mailing it back, which you can certainly leave. They can mail it back or we can put an email address on there. But it might be good, as Dinah had said earlier, rather than the person giving it back to the grantee, to send it directly to us. And I would say, Charlie, I would say that since you're the grant coordinator, it probably should come to you, would be what I would say. If we're, you know, when it's going to town hall, or Chris is checking our email box, so she'll know to maybe pass that along or to use the email that you created. Because I think you probably, as the grant coordinator, should be the holder of these and report. That way you've got some data to report on.
And we don't have independent information about the site supervisor's location or address or email or anything. Right? Well, we have names usually somewhere on the application, but that would be a little much. So really what we're relying upon is for the grantee to be sure to get this thing. That it has to be the grantee's responsibility to get this to the site supervisor, right, the host. And then it has to be the host's responsibility. So they have to convey to the host that this has to be sent in, or they might not get their grant again or something like that. You know, it's kind of like when you go to a store and they say, will you please fill out this thing saying what your experience was, right? And, you know, maybe I'll get a bonus if you fill the thing out, kind of thing.
Exactly. The one thing I want to say, though, now that we're doing so much virtual is, and I'm just going to use Cape Cod Orchestra as an example with that absolutely beautiful video. In the case of somebody like him, who would he have given this to? Who was his host?
He's one and the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Some of these things, well, right. Some of these things are for a broad audience, and they aren't necessarily sponsored by anyone else. That's true.
Yeah.
So yes, so then I think we have to be somewhat flexible. It has to be on an ad hoc basis, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, who they think is the most appropriate person to fill the thing out. Obviously, if you're doing something for a COA, then it's the people of the COA who need to fill it out. If you're doing something for, like the Cranfest in the courtyard, that's another thing. Who is the overarching supervisor of that? Isn't it they themselves? Or would you say it's the Harwich Cultural Center?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So here's something I'm thinking about at the top where it says to be completed by host site supervisor or.
Yeah.
So an or could be or collaborative partner. So let's just say like the courtyard, the Cranberry Fest, maybe their collaborative partner is the cultural center. So maybe the cultural center would be, filling this out.
Yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good idea.
Because even when I think about Cape Cod, the orchestra, they were filming in that beautiful church in Yarmouth, I think it was. So maybe the church, did they show up on time? Did they leave the place clean? Because they were videoing in there. So I think that was a collaborative partner for them.
And what were you suggesting in terms of wording to be completed by host site supervisor or?
Or collaborative partner?
Yeah.
Now, and how are we going to police this? Am I going to be following up with these people every 2 or 3 weeks to say where the heck is your response? Or because I don't want to be a policeman.
I wouldn't think that's all your responsibility, Charlie.
It's not, Charlie, but I'll tell you who it will fall to. Well, not really the policing bit, but when Chris, it's a final step of getting the grant reimbursement. So when Chris gets the grant reimbursement packet and she's got her checklist, have they submitted all these things, and she sees that this has not been done, she could alert you, or she could do it herself to send something to the grantee that says, we've got everything we need, but we're missing your evaluation form. Can you get that to us?
So are we withholding the money until we get the evaluation form? That's a decision that we need to make.
Yep, that's a decision you'll have to make. Yep.
I would
So
say,
that's something to think about.
I would say by all means.
Yeah, it's a motivator.
Yeah. But
No,
that's not
okay. You know what else we could do is say that it needs to be returned, or it may jeopardize funding in the future for your group. That's really the hook. It's not about whether they did the thing. If they did the thing, we have to pay them. I don't see how, if they have trouble getting this host site supervisor or getting some collaborative partner to fill them out, it shouldn't really be, after a certain point, we shouldn't be holding them fully responsible for that. However, I would say that if they don't get it, the motivator really is that we would look differently upon their applications in future because we have no data about how this one went. How about that?
That's good.
I'm trying to capture that. And we'll finalize all this next month because it'll still give you some time to do a follow-up, Charlie.
Yeah, and I think it's fine to say, please, respond. It may, if not, it may jeopardize your reimbursement.
Right.
Right. Please.
Well, and that is, I don't know if everybody remembers, and I don't want to say the grantee's name again, but not this year. Yeah, it was one of our 2020 recipients. I had an issue
Yes.
when she sent her stuff. It was missing the publicity piece. So when I contacted her, I've never had to do that before. What are you talking about? I do grants all over the state. Nobody's ever asked for that. And I said, well, we do want it. And it was in your grant award letter. It's clearly written in there. And it got a little contentious. And she felt like I was withholding money. That's why I got involved. So I called the host supervisor to verify, did the event happen? Did we get the credit? And that's where I got into the conversation of who paid for this? Because we also paid for
this next step, right?
Right, yeah. And most everybody, in my 6 years of being on this council, most everybody's been terrific about, whatever it is you're asking them to submit. But every now and then you'll get a contentious grant awardee that might challenge you on something, and that was one of them.
Yeah.
So
I look at it as it's a contract. There are two parties to the contract. We say we're going to do this for you. You have to do this for us.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
So really a question is, should this be required for reimbursement or just for future funding? That was the question that I was raising. That's what I'm going to put in the minutes here.
Yeah, and I think that's a good question. My personal thought is I would tie it to the reimbursement, because I think the data is what Charlie was wanting. And I think if you tie it to the reimbursement, you can get the data that you're looking for the next grant cycle.
So then the grantee would need to bug the host site supervisor until they get it.
Yeah.
Well, the fact is, if the money is withheld, they should step up.
Mm-hmm. And
These are all elemental. These are all elemental things in terms of what we're trying to offer to our citizenry. We want to make sure it happens.
Right. If the money is withheld,
yes,
they will step up and do the requirements, which happens to be the evaluation we're asking for.
Right, but what I'm saying is that the grantee themselves may not have total control over whether the host site supervisor fills out the paperwork. They just may not. That could happen.
Why can't they fill it out? As long as the information is there, and they know the information, they can fill it out. Somebody's got to fill it out.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
And another, and I think sometimes a case-by-case basis. So let's just say somebody is having difficulty getting it from the host supervisor. It might be that one of us, maybe that person sends an email, or one of us just picks up the phone and verifies. I mean, I don't want to get in the habit of doing that for everybody, but every now and then there might be a situation like it was for me with that particular grant person. I had to pick up the phone and call the host site. Did this really happen?
Right. There's still a missing piece, however, which is how does the host site supervisor get the document back to us?
Right.
Does it say on the bottom, please email to Charlie's number?
Well, I think we need to change it, because right now it says mail. We can still leave the mail on there.
Change, but the question is, what should it be changed to?
Well, I think you can either mail or email.
To
Harwich Cultural Council, Town Hall, or to Charlie's email address.
Okay.
Because Charlie's the grant coordinator.
Okay.
Yep.
My other question is who knows best about the program? The site supervisor, were they actually there on the premises, or the one who actually does the program?
And Chris, that is a good
Who
question.
actually does the program has a what do you call it? A compromised.
Conflict of interest.
Conflict of interest is the term I'm trying to, yes,
Okay.
conflict of interest, right? Potentially, just as Tina was describing, that a grantee actually was saying, oh, everything went fine. I don't know why I have to fill this out. I don't know why I have to tell you anything more. And so that kind of thing is what we don't want to have to deal with, because that is not useful to us. And so it wasn't until she actually talked to the people for whom the service was provided that she got more information.
Well, I'm thinking of Matt, you know, the orchestra thing. He knows the response from his own group. So
Yes,
he's
in that
aware.
case.
Whereas the place, say Heritage, he's at this automotive museum heritage place, they might not have the ability to understand what the whole group is responding to. I mean, as
Yes, of course, yeah, they could just be renting the space, of course.
right. So my contention is that Matt knows more about the evaluation than the place.
In that case, that is absolutely true. And what we're saying, I think, is that it's pretty different with each different grantee.
Right.
Yeah.
Something's held at the cultural center, Harwich Cultural Center. The people that are running Carolyn, if you will, is probably not even in the building. So I really find it difficult to understand why we would insist on the host site supervisor to be involved in this.
Because in some cases, that is the appropriate person. In some cases, it's not. That's the problem.
Yeah, that is.
Like the nursing homes, for instance, or the COA, right? I mean, those people are really in the best position to say whether this was right for our population. Or the teachers, you know, in a school, the people who are overseeing kids for whom a service is provided, those teachers are in a better position to say how many kids were there, whether it met their expectations of what they were promised about what the show was going to be, or the workshop, or the experience, right? I mean, so it's different for different places. Clearly, the examples you're giving, it doesn't make sense, but in other examples, it does. So that's really the issue.
I'm also wondering, and again, I'm thinking about the virtual world, if we need a third category to be completed by host site supervisor or collaborative partner, or something along the lines of an audience summary. And I'm just thinking of, like, if you're doing something on Facebook or whatever, or YouTube or a video, even screenshotting, because this is something that Cape Cod Orchestra did when he sent his reimbursement. He actually gave me a screenshot of some of the audience comments, even though I myself saw the video, so I know it actually happened. But when he ran it on Facebook, he did a screenshot of some of the feedback he was getting in the comments. So you could see that people were enjoying it. So there could be a third category to be completed by host site supervisor or collaborative partner, or...
Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Or,
That's mine. Sorry.
that's a, or I'm just thinking, how do you do, so host site supervisor or collaborative partner, or through an audience summary, but I'm just trying to, again, we don't have to.
Verification. Some independent verification. And then we'll have to decide whether that independent verification is acceptable or not.
Right, exactly. So we can think, because I don't think we want to get caught up in wordsmithing tonight, unless you think, you know, but I can hand this over to Sharon, and maybe Sharon will have her own ideas. Maybe she can come up with something. And
well,
Charlie,
there's a lot of little issues here that it's fortunate she wasn't here to be in on this discussion, because there are lots of
right.
pieces.
But I do, but Dinah, you brought up something that I also was thinking too, with Charlie in this letter, and please, I'm going to try my best. I made a note here to remind myself. In that grant acceptance packet on Monday, even though we're not including this, we have to put in there that this is part of the requirement, because otherwise they're going to come back and say, well, that wasn't part of the original, you know.
Yes.
Even though it's not going to be attached, we can put in there in our bullets, and I don't have the letter in front of me, but we'll put this in the requirement and we'll put in parentheses to be provided later or something.
This will be sent to you subsequently.
Yeah, because we definitely want it in the acceptance letter, because otherwise, if we didn't state it from the beginning.
Yes, that's a good point.
Yeah. So we'll add that into the. Yeah, and that gives us a little bit more time to at least put this together, and hopefully in March at our next meeting, Sharon can work on this and present it to everybody, and then we can have a final discussion and a vote on it, and then Charlie can send it out.
Okay.
All right. Anything else for now on this? All right, so this item will return back on our agenda next month, and I'll reach out to Sharon. Okay, so the last item is the Mass Cultural Council annual report due March 1st. So, and that really, I think, and Chris, maybe Chris, Charlie, and me, I don't think it's necessary that we get together, but Chris, if you remember when you and I got together and those little tabs, there'll be part of it that you'll be responsible for, and there'll be part of it Charlie's responsible for. And Charlie, I showed you when we were on there some of the things you're responsible for. But the annual report is due March 1st, and it's basically a series going into the our panel or our Mass Cultural Council. It'll list the different tabs, and we each, like the treasurer has some things that she'll do, and the grant piece, and we just have to make sure it's all done. And then once at the very end, when everything's complete, you hit submit and your annual report's gone. So I just want to give everybody a heads up that that's due March 1. So Chris and Charlie, I've been doing some of it, and Charlie and I were in there recently. So maybe Charlie, you and I, or you hop in, or we'll figure this out. And then Chris, you're not going to have any this time, but you will next time. So at some point you and I might want to hop in there just so you're familiar with it. So that, yeah. So any questions about that?
So Tina, Charlie, and Charlie will be preparing this and submitting it?
Yeah, and it's basically a series of questions. Like Charlie's part is he has to go in there and record all the grant awards like we agreed on tonight. He has to go in there because it pulls up the sheet that we were working on, and he has to go in there and record what we zeroed out, what we, so he has to do all that so it balances out. And then Chris, at some point early in the cycle next year, will have to make sure all the starting numbers match up. Charlie also has to log who was at the voting meeting. So we've had a vote. We had a meeting last month to talk about it. We had a meeting this month. So he has to record who was present, who was absent. So it's just little things like that that they want to know.
Is there a form?
It's not a form. It's all online, and it's a series of tabs. So you work through the tabs.
So it's a format?
Yeah, it's a format. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It used to be, back before they moved everything online, it was a form, but now it's all set up online.
Okay.
And it's just moving through the tabs. And
Okay.
you can't hit submit until you've completed all the tabs.
Right, you should have to fill everything out. Okay.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay. All right.
And that, that's kind of tied to our allocation. So if we don't do that part, we don't get our money from the state next year.
Right.
So, all of this is kind of linked. Yeah.
It's all about accountability.
Exactly. Yep. And that is it. We're at the end of the agenda. Anybody have any final comments, questions, anything?
You had a question about signatures on a form that was required?
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. I still got to figure out how to do that. We've got until, I want to say April 9th to get that over to the town. Her preference is to get everybody's signatures on one sheet, but she understands the circumstances. And Dinah, she wasn't real, I'm not quite sure if that email thing was going to work, but I'm still working on it. So I'm still working on it. I might actually put out 2 sheets, and maybe, I don't know, I'll figure it out kind of offline, Peter.
Okay.
Maybe if I just go drop it off at somebody's house.
I did a capture of the form, and I thought maybe I could sign that, scan it, and send it to you, and then you could staple a whole bunch of individual ones together.
Yeah, that's
whether they're on one sheet or 7.
Yeah, that's a possibility. I think I think her preference is to have them all on one page, but I think.
Okay, I understand that, yeah. I'm just trying to think of a way to do it virtually.
Yep, and I think that's probably might be where we go, is just having everybody sign and scan and send it all over, and she's got all the signatures.
If everybody's going to sign and scan, couldn't we circulate it and have Peter do his thing, send it to me, I do mine, send it to Chris, Chris does hers, sends it to
That's
Charlie.
a good idea, Donna. Wow. Actually, Donna, that you got
It
your
sounds like
tech
a-
hat on.
Telephone tree or something.
As long as we're all using the same format.
That's actually a very
Yeah, that's
good
right.
idea,
I'm
Donna.
Apple, so I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I was worried about.
I mean, if you send it as an attachment with your, scanned as an attachment, then
That's
I,
true.
and I
Yeah,
scan,
sure.
whoever I scan it, and I send it as an attachment. I don't know that it matters which kind of computer you're using. They're all attachment, and we all have capability of sending attachments, don't we?
yeah.
And scanning?
Well, we could give it a try. I'll be glad to initiate it and send it out and see what
Yeah, you
happens.
can do that. You want to do that? Because my scanner automatically converts it to a PDF. So once it scans, if I send it on to the next person, they're getting a PDF. So they print it out, sign it, and then they scan it. So yeah, why don't we try it? Let's see what,
Okay.
let's try it out. Good idea. Peter, you're going to start
I
it?
will, okay, all I need is one email address to send it to.
You can send it to me
Send it to
first.
me.
The next person can go down the line because I don't have all of your
Yeah,
emails.
you want to send it to me?
Yeah, I'll send it to you because I know we have a good communication link.
And you have my email, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Peter, actually, before you do anything, I'm going to send you the correct sheet because I
Okay.
noticed that the sheet that was sent to us had 2 old names on it.
Yeah.
It had, yeah. So, so don't do anything yet. I'm going to email you the correct sheet. I actually asked for a revised sheet and she did send that to me. So I will send that over to you.
So you have the correct sheet now, Tina?
Yes. Yeah, because Sharon actually caught that her name was misspelled, and it wasn't misspelled because it was another Sharon from a while back. Because we also had Roseanne Shapiro. I don't know if anybody noticed that she was on the list.
Yes.
So I got the right list. So I will send that over to you, Peter, and we'll go from there. I'll
Okay,
sign it. Why don't I'll just sign it and send it to you, Peter, and then
Okay.
you take it from there.
okay.
Good idea. Wonderful. Anything else? All right, motion to adjourn.
Second? Oh,
Did somebody motion?
yeah, let me have a motion before the second.
Yeah, all right. So Chris motioned and Peter seconded. Let's go around the room and all in favor of adjourning. Dinah,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Charlie,
Aye.
and I'm an aye, and we are adjourned at 5:23 p.m.
Okay.